What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. So if you've been following the financial news, you've been following that everything has really been crashing. Crypto, stocks, even potentially the housing market. But one thing that most people aren't talking about is the car market. And Stephan is a financial YouTuber that makes a lot of good content with a lot of other financial topics like stocks, housing, and also even cars and Tesla as well. And he just made a video about how the car market has potentially popped. So I want to quickly make a video reacting to his video and also give more feedback more so on the Tesla market and my thoughts on it and if it actually is going to crash or not. So thanks for watching this video. Please hit that like if you enjoyed it and let's get into it. And of course, please support Stephan's channel. Go check out his channel if you haven't already. Hit his like on his video and comment below on his video as well. So Stephan, if you don't know, is a financial YouTuber. He actually makes really good content, talks about current events. Kind of gives a more level playing field perspective than some other world is crashing type YouTubers. But I do like watching his content. He's got a lot of good tutorial videos or explanation videos with like real estate, Teslas as well as just how to save money. So we'll go ahead and react to this, watch this, and then that would be, well, of course, we'll do a Q&A. If anybody else has some other questions with Tesla buying, selling, flipping, ownership, or anything like that.
First of all, I gotta say, I am shocked that more people aren't talking about this because we're facing a huge problem in the used car market. And honestly, it's a disaster waiting to happen. Like, we all know that used car prices have gotten really expensive, but did you know that those car prices have outperformed the stock market in 2020, 2021, and also 2022? In just the last year.
Yeah, there was actually a joke where buying a Tesla is a better investment than buying Tesla stock within the past year, because Tesla stock has just completely crashed from like $1,000 to $1,100 to now like $600, $700. Whereas if you bought a Tesla Model Y like Rena did, you can make $13,000 and drive it for a whole year, which you can't even put value on that. Like, to have a car to drive and make $13,000, that's actually like $20,000 profit because you got utility out of it. You got to use it in your day-to-day life as well. So, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Used car prices have increased 40%, which is twice the growth of the housing market, 4 times the growth of contemporary art, and 5 times higher than the 40-year record-breaking inflation of 8.5%. However, the days of used cars selling for more than new is beginning to come to an end, with the automotive industry on the brink of an auto loan collapse that has the potential to shake out the entire market as defaults begin to.
So used cars selling for more than new. We've been seeing that in the Manheim auctions. You can see a car with an MSRP of $50K, whatever the brand or make and model is, be selling for more. And in fact, that was probably a good business for some people, just try and buy it immediately and flip it for more. But I don't think that though every car is going to keep like that. There's going to be certain cars and models that there just won't be demand, especially someone maybe like the gas only cars. They're going to drop in demand and they're not going to be able to be selling for more. And we've already seen it with the Model X. And the Model X right now, if you bought it out the door, everything is going to be like $138,000. But if you actually went to go sell that at auction, you only get like $128,000. So you lose $10,000 to $15,000 right off the bat if you went to go try and dump it in the auction.
To increase on predatory loans that never should have been issued to begin with. But hey, at least on the bright side, they arrested an avocado thief in California. Anyway, let's talk about the current state of the auto industry, how this quietly became one of the most egregious bubbles that very few people are talking about, and how this will likely affect the value for vehicles over these next few years, for better or I guess for worse. Although before we start, there was a lot of research that went into making a video like this, so it's factually correct and accurate as of the time I'm posting this video. So if you appreciate that, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed or hit the like button for the YouTube.
Yeah, definitely check out Stephan. He posts a lot of good content. Go to his channel, subscribe. You probably are already, and hit the like. I've already hit both, so I'm supporting
the algorithm so that more people could see exactly what's going on. So thank you guys so much for doing that, and also a big thank you to Amaze for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. All right, so for anyone who's ever wondered how on earth we got here, why 82% of cars were selling for over MSRP, and how this was even allowed to get so out of control, it's all Jerome Powell's fault. He did it. Okay, not really, but just like everything else, 2020 has been a hell of a drug.
I mean, it kind of is someone's fault, whether it's the Federal Reserve or Jerome Powell. But I definitely think that the demand for everything has kind of spiked up with the low interest rates and the fact that since interest rates are low, banks feel more comfortable issuing out loans for cars that have higher value because they see the value of the cars at the auction. So they feel just like, hey, just give everybody a car, get them approved, get them on the door, because worst case to it, they can pull the car back and just dump into the auction and be okay as long as the car is not completely wrecked. So definitely it's basically had an effect on the auto market for sure.
See, in most normal circumstances, when you go and buy a new car, that car loses, on average, 11% as soon as you drive it off the lot. Within a year, it's lost 25% of its value, and within 5 years, the average car is worth 63% less than it would cost new. This makes...
Yeah, and that's actually, so I bought my first Tesla in 2019, a Tesla Model 3 Stealth Performance. I want to say I bought it like late December of 2019. Drove for 18 months, and I sold it at a loss, actually. Like, I paid like $60K out the door for it, and I sold it for $48K at the end of it. So I lost money, about $500 a month through that whole period, not factoring in gas savings. And I lost money, and I sold it 18 months, so that would have put it like in the middle of 2021. I lost money. And so I probably sold that Model 3 right before the bubble or the increase of values went up, and I just timed it like ever so slightly off. But I probably could, if I had waited another 6 months, I probably could have broken even. But then I wouldn't have taken delivery of my Model Y, which I got $4,000 off of the price. So it kind of bounces out at the end of the day, and I was able to get out into another car really quickly.
Sense, because technology is dated, the car experiences wear and tear, and it's no longer the latest design. But in 2020, auto manufacturing completely stopped in the wake of the shutdown. This meant that for a brief period of time, no new cars were being built. Although what made the situation worse wasn't so much the auto manufacturers, but instead the tiny little chips that went inside the car. And no, not those chips, these chips. Semiconductors like this make it possible.
Yeah, and that's actually still an issue today, but now it's starting to affect other parts of the cars, like the seats, any other part. It's like they're having shortages because of the factories that make it get shut down, and that puts the delay. And so there's cars out there that are just mismatched, are not completely built for various reasons, not including parts. So that's part of the reason. That's part of the reason why I think the auto shortage or the crash, the car market bubble crash, is not necessarily going to happen immediately, because there's still a production issue with cars, and there's a lot of people on waiting lists for cars out there that will be willing to take delivery like immediately.
For the car to control everything from the windows, the sensors, the ignition, navigation, and everything else. So much so that a modern car requires in excess of several thousand chips. And even though that sounds like a lot, the auto industry only uses about 3% of the global chip supply. The rest gets used by consumer electronics, like smartphones, which saw a record increase throughout 2020 and 2021. So those products get priority. As a result, excess demand combined with manufacturing delays, a lack of labor, and a supply chain crisis led to a shortage of semiconductor chips, which of course led to a shortage of new cars being completed. In fact, the UK suffered its worst manufacturing year since 1956 in terms of output, and the US continues to halt production on their most popular vehicles simply because they don't have the components to finish them. That means higher prices for everybody else. At the same time, demand for cars has skyrocketed to the point where buyers are willing to pay a premium just to get anything that they can, and all of a sudden a 3-year-old car is selling for more than its original sticker price, brand new. And
yeah, I mean, customers are willing to pay it, but more so dealers are willing to mark up cars. And so there's actually a really cool site called markup.com, which basically is a customer user-generated site where people can go onto it and enter in where they bought the car, where they saw the car, how much the markup is for what model it was on. If you're looking to buy a car and you want to see if there's markup, or if there isn't markup, you can go to here, put the model in, put the keyword in wherever to see which places aren't charging astronomical markups.
That's where the problem begins. See, when buyers purchase a car, the vast majority of them are financed. In fact, 85% of new car purchases are bought with debt, along with 55% of used car purchases. And what makes this so unique is that, unlike real estate, auto loans are not subject to strict underwriting requirements, allowing nearly anyone to get a loan if they really want to drive off with a new purchase.
Yeah, and this is where it gets super scary, because
not only are cars being marked up, banks have to then finance those cars at a higher loan to value ratio with maybe cash down. That's where it creates this elevated, this car is being sold at this price for this financing, and if it all comes tumbling down, and the auction values can't support because no one wants to buy from there, that's kind of where the risk is. But that has to start with people defaulting, which, I mean, it might happen with some of these Gen Z or other auto loans that have been pushed out there.
So bad that Jalopnik ran a story in late 2021 detailing just how easy it was to get a loan and how predatory those loans have become, calling it a true wild, wild west and a poorly regulated wasteland. Or in other words, borrowers with great credit scores are being funneled into high-interest loans that were more than double the average rate. On top of that, 25 to 50% of loans were given to customers who might not be able to afford them.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting because my past 2 Teslas, I was able to get both of them, buy both of them, finance them with 0 down. And these are big ticket items. And thankfully, I have good credit and good income. But I mean, there's probably people that kind of are doing the same thing with similar setups and just getting into the car with signing their signature, which can be very scary if you don't know or if you're not good with money management.
To make matters even worse, lenders rarely verified income and employment to borrowers to confirm that they had sufficient income to repay the loan. Of the loans Consumer Reports looked at, these verifications happened just 4% of the time. And if that wasn't unbelievable enough, as of now, 5% of auto loans in the US are behind on payments and nearly half are underwater, where the buyer owes more on the car than what the car is actually worth. And that says a lot when you consider that auto prices are already significantly higher than they were just 2 years ago. And just like the housing market collapsed from the loan crisis in 2008, it's said that the same thing is beginning to happen in the automotive industry, and I didn't even believe it until I saw the numbers. But before we go into that,
Yeah, I mean, believe it, we're probably getting back to before pre-COVID levels or pandemic levels of auto loan defaults and not foreclosures, repos. And so we'll kind of just even out because there's going to be a lot of makes and models that are out there that the banks kind of just willy-nilly kind of give them the loan, and that's probably what's going to happen when they start to default and those cars go back in the market. So it's going to certainly tank some certain makes and models, probably not EVs and Teslas. But then regarding the paycheck and credit thing, that's super interesting too, because of the past 3 cars that I bought Teslas through various banks, only one bank required me to show my income, but the other ones were just like, here you go, you're good to go, like you're good, your credit looks good, so you don't have to worry about it. So that is kind of scary that people kind of can just put whatever number, and then there. I mean, of course, it's illegal to put whatever number there. If you lie on a credit application, you're basically breaking some sort of law. But it is pretty scary that you can just put whatever number in there and someone won't verify your pay stub. So I think this next part is an ad where they're giving away Tesla Model S Plaid. It's by Amaze, so if you are interested in that, Amaze is a pretty interesting company where you can donate, enter in like sweepstakes for like $5, give or take, and supposedly it all goes to a good place. But yeah, do your research.
Loans are bundled together and sold on the secondary market for investors who want to get paid back with interest. In return, lenders get their money back plus a small fee, and they could use those proceeds to hand out new loans to start the process over again. With the real estate market, this spelled disaster because subprime loans were falsely packaged as safe investments, and when homeowners couldn't afford those monthly payments, they defaulted, banks couldn't pay back their investors, and everything went to poop. Since then, lenders have strengthened their requirements, increased down payments, and verified financials. But with the car market, that's not being done. Instead, investors have had such a big appetite for buying up packaged car loans that they're selling at the fastest pace in years, to the point where subprime auto bonds with junk ratings have been selling at yields as low as 3.5% versus as high as 9% 4 years ago. This essentially means...
Yeah, that's pretty scary to think that a bunch of these loans are bundled up and being sold, but it's a little bit, I would say it's a little bit different with cars because cars are such like a fluid thing. Like you can move the car, sell it across the country, whereas a house is kind of stuck and it's a way bigger purchase. But I get it. Like if there's, there's a bunch of crap people and they all default on loans, and then they can't turn and sell the car to someone else. But there's just a lot more buyers in the space, especially like the cheaper cars, like the 20 to 30K. that's they can easily get in and out and hopefully not lose too much money. But if it's a bunch of subprime 10-20% interest rate loans that are all bundled together and they all default, then I can see, or they're being sold as AAA or really good credit, then I can see where that can be a huge problem.
Means that investors are highly unlikely to see a positive return on their investment because 3.5% is nowhere close to compensating on the level of risk associated with lending money on a vehicle that's probably not worth the price that they paid. And right now, the auto loan industry is a $1.4 trillion market. On top of that, as car prices have risen, lenders have offered longer loan terms to allow for more people to finance a car. Experian noted that the number of car loans of 72 months or longer is the highest it's ever been. Even more concerning is that some lenders are willing to finance up to 125% of the car's value. So if you bought a car for $30,000, you would be able to get $37,500 to include sales tax, registration, title, and fees. Then instantly you're in the negative without even turning on the car.
And so the 125% loan to value, it also includes markup too. So that's where a lot of these dealers are where finance companies are stuffing it into there to try and build the markup in there so that they can get finance, because they got to get extra money somehow. But according to the finance thing, before, like 3-4 years ago, 78-month, 84-month financing really wasn't a thing, but now it's like a lot more common throughout the market. I just bought a different car, which I have a video coming out soon that actually gets the tax credit of $7,500. But I went with 78-month financing at 2.74% because two things. I wanted the low payment because I knew I wasn't going to keep the car too long, like a year. And so I didn't really care about the interest I paid because it doesn't matter at the end of the day because I'm going to get out of it. And I still have $7,500 in reserve.
Now, in all fairness, negative equity like this is nothing new, and unlike a house, repossessing and auctioning off a car to recoup some of your investments is a fairly quick process. But the magnitude of which this is occurring is beginning to draw some concern, and this is what we have to get to.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Selling a car, repoing it, and just dumping to the auction like we looked at before is a lot easier. There's more buyers in the space because not only are there customers in the space, there's dealers that will then go and sell to other dealers. So think of it like the housing market. If all the real estate agents out there were also buying and flipping their own inventory as well, that's basically what the car market is.
As supply chain constraints, production, and chip manufacturing begin to improve, used car prices are beginning to drop, down 6.4% since the record high in January. This also marks the fourth consecutive month that auto prices have fallen, and the first month that sales declined 17%.
So sales decline it's more so, I would say, a production thing. They don't produce enough cars to then sell it. The auto industry has just had production issues left and right. So that's probably where that sales figure comes from. But if we go back to like the cars grew index, like we're still up 11-12% year over year. So I don't see a crash according to this just yet, but then we're still up 0.8% in the past 9 days. There was like a slight dip in March, but I think we talked about it earlier, but that's probably because people are waiting for their like tax refunds. So they kind of held off buying a car, got the refund in April, and then bought a car shortly after. So used car market, we just went to all, if I can get it. Yeah, it started the year at 30,761. Now 30,902. So like, I don't know, 0.5% increase from the beginning of the year. So used car prices are still pretty high for the year.
Well, this is certainly good news for anyone who's soon to be in the market for a car. It's a nightmare for banks who have lent money on those cars at a value that's rapidly beginning to fall. Right now, it's said that investors are willing to bet that consumers will keep paying their loans in the near term, because after all, a car could be an essential purchase that allows people to go to and from work or be used as a way to make money. But that might not necessarily continue. A survey from Fannie Mae found that 16% of consumers said that they expected to lose their job in the next 12 months. And that is generally the time when finances get tight and people cut back on the items that are costing them too much money, or in this case, it's expensive auto loans. Just recently, it was reported that 8.5% of subprime borrowers defaulted on their car loans, which is the second highest total on record. The Wall Street Journal even...
The other interesting thing right now with the looming car crash is there's a lot more companies, whether it's Carvana and CarMax variants or the plenty of other spin-offs in the space. you've probably seen the Facebook ads or the local ads where people are willing to buy your car because they're wholesalers right off of you and then flip it elsewhere. So there's a lot of companies in the space that are willing to do that, like easily cut you a check. Whether you lose money or not, it's a different case and scenario. But there's a lot more avenues to selling your car than just a private sale or dealer. There's dealers, private sellers, wholesalers. There's a lot more in the space. So it's a lot easier to just get out of your car if you need to and get someone that will just hand you and give you their money to pay off whatever loan that you have.
Found that more subprime borrowers have started missing payments as rising prices force households to choose between paying for the essentials or paying off loans. Now the government is warning about a surge in car repos and that the problems could get much worse unless we stay ahead of it. The reality is, lenders have potentially given buyers unaffordable loans without verifying their financials on values that can't be sustained without a chip shortage. And it's only a matter of time until eventually things have to come down and return to normal. The reality is, for most people, just like a house, a car could be a necessity. But just like any payment, it needs to be affordable. Otherwise, you run the risk of making a huge mistake. In most cases, the rule of thumb here is what's called the 24-10 rule. 20% down payment on a 4-year loan where you spend no more than 10% of your monthly income on transportation. But what actually happens is completely the opposite. Instead, the average payment is just 11.7% on a 72-month loan with a car that's being kept for 71.4 months. So
yeah, that's pretty interesting. I mean, people I typically keep hearing that people keep their car about 5 years, so 72 months is a little bit pushing it to that further out month time frame. But yeah, I mean, that makes complete sense. Most people can only put not even like 10%, but like if they're buying like a $30,000 car, that's $3,000 down, which barely even covers taxes. So they're underwater typically in the previous times where cars lost value, but most cars kind of have held value now. So if there starts to be a lot of delinquencies and repos, that might be where we'll see a lot of more used cars come into the market they just have to get out of it.
Basically, people aren't even finished making their payments before they roll that into a brand new loan that starts the process all over again. So between an unprecedented surge in prices, rising interest rates, and chip manufacturing beginning to return to normal, we should expect auto prices to begin to fall right alongside with your cryptocurrency investments. Just kidding. But seriously, KPMG predicts that used car prices could drop 30% as more supply hits the market, and Ally Financial predicts a 20% decline. The timing is a bit uncertain, but it does look like it's starting to unravel over the next 12 to 18 months. Overall, from everything that I have researched, my biggest concern is that too many people have locked themselves into auto loans that were more expensive than they could afford. And in the event of a job loss or a reduction in income, those people wouldn't be able to sell the car for as much money as they owe. And if they can't come out of pocket on a $25,000 car that they owe $35,000 on, they'll have no other choice other than to get their car repossessed, flooding the market with more inventory and causing prices to decline even further.
So he does have a good point, because typically the third and fourth quarter of the year are auto manufacturers and dealers' biggest months, especially November, December. That's when they pump the most volume across the nation and they have the best sales. So if all this pending inventory that was stuck in the production finally delivers to dealers and goes into the market, and then manufacturers are then forced to give certain deals to kind of push inventory and hit numbers through the end of the year, that's probably where we'll see kind of more activity. But I don't think there's going to be a crash until probably January, December, because January and February are typically the slowest months in the car industry, where there's always like a huge dip in terms of sales volume. That's probably when there's going to be a dip in sales prices for used cars, and we'll probably see a decline. But in terms of like, it depends on the make and the model at the end of the day. Certain areas, just like housing, certain areas in certain cities are going to decrease more, just as certain models, makes and models are going to decrease more. And I don't think Tesla is going to be a part of that picture unless they really start to increase prices. But even then, and if they start to keep increasing prices for the Model Y, Model 3, and maybe more used car owners want to take advantage of it, maybe that floods the market. But I mean, I don't think Tesla has such high demand, because even right now, if you were to buy or put your name in the order for a Model 3 or Model Y, you're still going to be waiting months just to get it. So I think if you're in the market, you don't want to buy new, you want to buy a used car, January, February is definitely going to be your timing to when you want to strike and get the market right around that time, and just save cash while in the meantime.
This is especially true right now when more than half of all auto loans are underwater, meaning they owe an average of $3,700 more than what the car is actually worth. And that negative equity is only going to get worse the more auto values decline. At a certain point, it's just not sustainable, and that needs to be acknowledged. We also have businesses like Carvana who actively lose $3,200 for every car sold, and when they have more than 55,000 cars, that's a lot of losses that have to go somewhere, like their stock, which is also down 91% year to date. Now, on the bright side, logistically, don't expect this to be anywhere near the size of the housing collapse, because loan sizes are significantly smaller and it's a lot easier to repo and auction a car than it is to foreclose on a home. In addition to that, most auto loans have a fixed interest rate, so even though a buyer may owe way more than the car is worth, as long as they can continue making those monthly payments, the solution is to hold on to the car longer than expected and keep driving it until eventually you break even. The best strategy in this case is to simply recognize that 40% price increases year over year is not sustainable or to be expected. And if you find yourself with a loan that might not be affordable, now would be a good time to either lower your interest rate or drive something less expensive so that way you could save the difference.
Or sell it immediately, pocket the difference, and then try and get something that's a little bit more, makes more sense, like a great EV with low maintenance, no gas, and just a better value. Like exactly what Happy, you exactly put it on the point. High gas prices, inflation side, demand side, prices are not coming down for EVs and especially Teslas for the near future until maybe next year, but we'll see.
This is certainly something to be made aware of, and if you don't believe me, I'll link to my newsletter down below in the description where you can see each and every single one of my sources. Very few people are talking about this, and the more people understand what's going on, the more we could prevent the problem from only getting worse in the future.
But yeah, thanks for watching my reaction to this video about the car market bubble. It kind of inspired this whole today's stream about going through all the different data and everything. Definitely check out Stephan. He's a great YouTuber. I watch a lot of his content. Hit the like on his video, comment on his video. Dennis sent you there, I guess, DennisCW. But definitely hit the like, check his channel out. But yeah, we'll move to the Q&A. If anybody has any questions on like Tesla buying, selling, ownership, or anything like that, we'll probably just stream for a few more minutes. Feel free to put your question into the chat. I'll try and answer it as best as I can. But yeah, I'll be right back. Let me get some more water to soothe my throat. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching today's stream. If you liked it, please comment that I should do this weekly. I probably would like to do stuff like this to go through the data that I have access to and try and track the used car market, especially Teslas, to see if you have one, is it time to exit? Or if you're waiting to get one, is it time to buy? Or if you have pending orders, is it time to, I don't know, try and take an inventory or something like that. Well, the one thing we didn't actually get to go through today is my favorite Tesla website, waitingfortesla.com. Great, fantastic website where you can see existing inventory that is out there, whether it's new or demos, to see if there's any available that you can pounce on. But just because there was immediately a quarter that just ended in June, I don't think there's going to be too many on here, but let's just do a quick check. Model 3, 0. Model Y, 0. When I checked on like June 30th or June 29th, there was like 6 or 7 out there, including a 7-seater that actually had like a $1,000 discount, I think. That was the one to try and get, because 7-seaters are super rare. Let's go to Model S. Last time I was on here, there was like 100 plaids. Now it's only 21. Okay, so I guess they somehow sold 80 of them or so. Oh, interesting. 2021 Model S Plaid. So 2021, so that's a little old. 2,000 miles, but $7,000 discount. Not too shabby if you want a Plaid. But it's 2021, so it's definitely like almost 2 years now, because I put That's another question. I wonder if anybody knows this in the chat. When does Tesla, I want to say it's like September, October, but when does Tesla go from 2022 to 2023? I'm pretty sure it's like September, October timeframe, and it probably changes by model. But if you own a Tesla now, you should really try and figure out for when that changes for your model, because that's if you're looking to sell and you're waiting for it, that's when you should sell, and that's probably when I'll sell, right when the model year changes over. All right, so now going back to the main page. Oh, they used to have my video here, but I guess it's gone. Sad. A Model X. Let's see any available inventory. 0. When I checked, there was like 3 or 4, I think, on the last day. End of the quarter is the craziest times, is when you can try and get deals or inventory out there. But this is a really good website if you're looking, you're searching, you need a car immediately, you don't want to wait anymore. I think someone asked me, happy you asked me about, that you asked me about if they had any clue about the product. But this is a little different. You're trying to pounce on inventory. It seems like there's no Model Ys, there's a couple Model S's, but check this website. There's a Discord you can join there for alerts, and as well as there's a Twitter that they have you can follow for alerts as well. Yeah, thanks for watching this stream, guys. Please hit that like if you enjoyed it. Also hit that subscribe. Pray for my voice and my throats. I do have a buy a coffee link if you want to support the channel. You can buy a coffee for my drives. I haven't done an autopilot video in a while, but I do want to try and set that whole rig up. Maybe try and do an autopilot live stream. That'd be cool. But if you want to support the channel, you can go down the link below, buy a coffee. You can get me a cold brew or something like that, or even a boba. That sounds actually good right now. All right, guys, thanks for watching today's stream. Hope you got some good information on it. Comment down if you have any questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one.